This DVMAX training session will address the use of the boarding appointment scheduler. First, let's go search for a client. In this case, a client whose last name starts with MANZ. That takes us directly to a client general information screen. As we've seen before, listed below on the left-hand side would be a list of any patients or animals belonging to this client record. Notice, of course, that they are identified as being alive, as in AC, or deceased, as in DC. The deceased animals are, of course, grayed out. If we wish to make a boarding appointment for Monk, we can double-click to open Monk's record. All boarding appointments are made from the patient's record. To set a boarding time for this animal, we can go to the patient menu and select Set/Find Boarding. We can also use the keyboard equivalent, in this case Control B if it's a Windows machine, or Apple B if it's a Macintosh. By selecting that, it takes us directly to the boarding appointment scheduler screen. The rooms, cages, and wards that are shown on this particular screen are quite specific to those available in your facility. These would be set up under the System Constants function of DVMAX. In order to set up a boarding appointment, we now simply click the Add Boarding button, which takes us directly to the boarding scheduler. We have a check-in date and a check-out date. In addition to that, we can specify the time of check-in as well as the time of check-out. If this animal will be arriving on 4/16, we can type in 4/16/08. Alternatively, as with most date fields within DVMAX, if we know the specified date that this animal will be checking out, for instance, we need only to enter the day number of the month. For instance, if this animal will be checking out on the 21st, we can simply enter 21. DVMAX will assume that that will be the 21st of the current month and year. Alternatively, we could have entered in the number of days of stay for this particular animal. For instance, if we had not entered in a check-out date, but rather entered in that this animal will be staying for 7 days, DVMAX will do the calculations for us. We now must specify where the animal will be staying. In other words, in what room, ward, or run area within your facility. Keep in mind that, again, these are specific to your facility. In this particular case, there's a room 1, a cat ward, and dog runs. Let's suppose we wish to place this animal into room 1. Notice DVMAX at this point is set to show only open cages, meaning cages that are available during the time stay that was specified above. In this particular case, it looks like there is only one cage available, and that would be cage 3. If we decide we wish to utilize that cage, now all we need to do is to click OK. What we see now is there is the scheduled appointment for boarding. This is in cage 3, which is in room 1, and it's for an animal named Monk. If we double click on that appointment, we can see that indeed there it is, 16 through the 22nd for 6 days of boarding, room 1, cage 3. It might have been necessary to add a comment, for instance, how many times of day to feed this animal, or walking instructions, for instance, walking on a leash 3 times daily is requested. Now those notes will pop up when this animal is in for boarding and we're reviewing the boarding schedule. Notice that now we have utilized all of the cages that are available to us within room 1. We can collapse room 1 and view the cat ward. We can see that there are more spaces available in the cat ward. If we collapse the cat ward, we now can open up the dog run area. Notice that there are bars across the screen. In this particular case, if we were to collapse the dog run into one bar, we can see that this shows that there is availability within that room. How do we know that? Because the bar is green. If we open up room 1, we can see that there is availability during the time frame in question. DVMAX also permits you to alter the view of the boarding scheduler. For instance, right now we are viewing the schedule as a monthly display. We can see that because the word monthly has a radio button depressed to its left. We can change the month view by clicking the right arrow, which now moves to the next section of the monthly schedule. And notice 4 weeks at a time are being displayed. We can use the left-hand button if we wish to go earlier. If indeed we wish to view on a daily basis, which would be for very busy boarding facilities, we can do that by clicking the daily button, and notice now it shows what's happening from hour to hour during the day. If we click weekly, we're now viewing the schedule with 7 days being displayed. Again, we can move forwards or backwards within that schedule by using the left and right buttons. We can also view quarterly, and if we do so, now we're looking at a full quarter's worth of information. We can change the column width by using the sliding scale button at the bottom. This makes it a little bit easier sometimes to view the specified time ranges. There may be occasions when it will be necessary for you to find the next appointment for that animal for boarding. In order to do so, you can click the Find Next button, which will indeed find the next boarding time for this particular animal. Here's a boarding time which is specified for 4:16 to 4:22. If the animal has another future date, you can click Find Next again, and indeed it will find that that animal does have a future boarding on 6:2 through 6:5. Another function of the boarding scheduler is the ability to get all of the patients listed on the screen at any one time. In other words, to take you to the records directly. You can click Get Patients. Then you can decide whether you want to see a list of those animals who will be checking in for boarding today, or a list of animals who will be checking out for boarding today, or a list of animals who are in boarding today. So for instance, if we want to see animals who are boarding on the 19th of April, we can click OK. This now takes us directly to a list of those animals who should be in our boarding facility today. This would be for the purpose of looking up to see if there's any services that need to be provided for them or vaccinations, etc. Alternatively, we might open up a boarding scheduled time and we can see that we can add comments or delete that appointment. For instance, if this client were to decide they are not going to be coming in on that particular day, we can simply click Delete, and that will in fact remove that appointment from the schedule. There it was, and now it's gone. There might also be times when it's necessary to open an animal's boarding time and use that screen to go directly to that animal's record, meaning we can access an animal's record from this screen by simply clicking Go to Record. And notice it took us directly to Martini's record. We can now make entries into the history if necessary, as we would on any other animal that we access through other means. From this screen, we can simply click OK to drop us back to the appointment scheduler for boarding. Another major function on this screen is the ability to print out a list of those animals who are boarding or will be boarding or who are checking out. If we click the Print Boarding button, we're asked, do we want to see a list of those animals who are checking in or checking out who are currently boarding? If we say we want to see those who are currently boarding and we type in a specified date, we can now see that this is the list of animals who are currently boarding as of that particular date. It identifies the animal, the species, the breed, the gender, even the last recorded weight for that animal, the owner's name, check-in time, the date, check-out time and the date, the duration of days, the room and cage in which this animal will be residing, and then, as you can see, any specified notes that were recorded for those animals. From this screen, we can click the Print button, which will then take us directly to a print job.